It's been away for a while, but she reluctantly got me involved in beekeeping, and then I started falling in love with it, and it's actually a very needed skill in different parts of the world. So now I do it too, and I just look like an astronaut, and you can see that I have duct tape everywhere because African bees are very tiny, and they really like to sting you. So you actually have to be fully duct taped in a suit when you go in. So I look closer to an astronaut, but that's okay. So I want to share, before I get on to what I'm currently doing, about my time in Botrica, Madagascar. For those of you who don't know where Madagascar is an island off of East Africa and South Africa. So this was my first placement. We were living in Botrica, which the tribe there is called the Bara. They are considered an unreached people group, which means that they do not have enough local believers to sustain their own church and sustain their own ministries. So we partnered with the Bosses, is this family up here. They are Brazilian. This is Fernando and Jana, and these are their two sons who I was there specifically to homeschool and then work in their children's ministry. So I don't know if you can see this picture well on the right. Just shoot me a number. How many kids do you think are in that room? 100. Okay, 100. I heard 300. This is 500 children. And I know that because I counted it. Wow. Because they kept telling me that we have 500 kids coming a week. The room is about this size. And it was 500 kids and 6 adults. No. So, yeah, I'll just let that sink in for a second. Yeah. If you ever thought that was easy work doing kids ministry here, I mean, I grew up helping in the nurseries here. I never had to do with 500 kids. That was like next level. So we worked with the Bara. They speak the language of Bara, which is a tribal language. It is unwritten. So most Bara people do not go to school for very long. So there is no written language in Bara. They're trying now. It's becoming more of a thing. It's a pidgin language, so it means it's close but thick accent, a little bit of a difference, of Malagasy official. So our team leaders were fluent in Bara, started this children's ministry. We did this twice a week. So this is our Wednesday service. This is when we had 500 kids come. The Saturday service was anywhere between 800 to 1,000 kids would come. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of kids. So, but we had, it was a really sweet time. This area of Madagascar is heavily affected with drought and famine. So there's not a lot of food in the area, not a lot of resources. When we were in Madagascar, we would bring back tubs of food from the capital just so we could keep going because the only fruit that we could find was papaya. So I don't know, and a lot of people have never even eaten a papaya here. I don't know if you guys have. It's very slimy. And that's the only type of fruit you have. So you just get real accepting with the fact that you're just eating. Like, you know, if children play with slime, same texture. Yeah, it's fun. And then for vegetables, we would have carrots and arrowroot. And that was, and we were living well in our village because we could afford these things. So lots of our neighbors were hungry, lots of our neighbors were starving. I've had the privilege to go to many different countries in Africa, and that's, I know that's a lot of times what we see on the media, but that's not actually a lot of their realities. But in Madagascar, it's the 5th poorest country in the world. It was a whole different view on poverty for me. I had never seen poverty like this. Like I had heard about areas where you could go and you could see dying children, and I had never seen it before firsthand. So seeing it for my first time was a very eye-opening experience, very life-changing, and how it really breaks your heart because you see these pictures in media, and I mean, I've worked in a lot of places in Africa, but I've never seen it like this. My parents would feed their children mud, and that is what the actual food they have was. And so one of our things that we did in this is we feed them a piece of bread and a cup of water, and before they would go back home. So here is the picture of my house and my homeschool room. So I homeschooled these 2 little boys from Brazil, and then I had 2 local children who would come on a daily basis and I would get to work with and get to be a part of their life. So this was through July of 2022 to December. So what I learned in Madagascar, Many of you know before I went to Madagascar, I got really sick. I got diagnosed with a chronic illness while I was living in Lesotho and working in Kenya. So I had traveled up to Kenya to see my doctors. And it was a really scary time. I was 25 at the time, had never been sick like this, never thought it would happen to me. I was happy living on the mission field, and out of nowhere, my body just stopped functioning on me. And it was terrifying. So to go to a place, so our village was a 3-day trip from the capital, which means I fly about 40 hours to the Antananarivo airport, and then we drove for 3 days, 12 hours straight to get to our village. The last day was completely on dirt roads and in mountains and desert valleys that look a lot like this. So what you're actually looking at right here is a village that we went to go visit a few times. So I had just never been that remote. And to be sick and to go out somewhere that remote was probably one of the most challenging things the Lord has led me through, because it was a true step in faith, which is what I have here. In our house, we did not have running water, so yeah, another thing that's really common in these areas is head lice. How many of you have ever experienced lice? Okay, now imagine doing that with a bucket shower, which is a cup and a bucket, and trying to wash lice out of your hair. Not fun, not recommended. Just don't get head lice, and if you do, go to somebody who can take it out. We live in America, and it's really great that we can do that. So that was also a big step in faith. It was a big change, changed my mindset a lot. I think it raised my threshold for different things that I don't think I ever thought of when I was little could ever do, but it was something that the Lord brought me through, and He really does give you the grace to go through it every single day. And He just keeps giving you the encouragement that you need to keep going on. So like I talked about, we are in extremely remote places, so this is working with a very unreached section of the Bara tribe that we have going with a bunch of local partners to even get in because of the danger. The Bara were known for cattle thieving, or they are known for cattle thieving. So just an extremely violent people group. Especially as a single woman, I can never go somewhere to these villages by myself. I would have to be at least accompanied by 3 men. So it was just a really big privilege to be able to go in, meet with this church. We were actually dropping off what's called a local evangelist. So another Malagasy man who has dedicated his life to working in this village or field to spreading the gospel. Learning language. Yeah, learning language is very hard for anybody, but learning a language that isn't necessarily written and you have no resources, really difficult to try to study. Malagasy is one of the harder languages. Their Bara was one of the harder languages I had to learn. It's almost like you're singing all the time. So like when they say hello, it's a koyabe, and you have to sing it to people. So I don't know what you would do if you were tone deaf in this culture. I'm pretty sure they would tell you. So this was our Mama Sue, this was our language teacher. She spoke no English. So we would sit on this mat in our house, this is me and my 2 roommates, and attempt to learn Bara together. And it was really a sweet time, very challenging time, really helped me develop the skills that were needed to take into where I'm learning now. It's just the language of Swahili. So Hannah and Ashlyn, so this is Hannah on my right, Ashlyn on my left. They are both from Texas, so they always made fun of my Michigan accent. I would constantly say, ooh, it's gonna sneak right past you. They loved that, and now I'll say it all the time. So just really, our team was going through a lot. It was an incredibly hard time in our village. Our team leaders were threatened, killed by rival people in the area, and it was a really difficult time. And we were living in a house. It's a little bit bigger than this room, but not by much. Me and Ashlyn shared children's bunk beds for 6 months, which as grown women sharing bunk beds, that's just always a good time. And the fact that I walked out of Madagascar and we are still very close friends, had very sweet friendships, is nothing short than a miracle. I know a lot of people know one of the number 1 reasons why missionaries is miscommunication on teams. That was not our situation. It was really just that the Lord had called us to leave. And there was other things going on in our village, and it really was this is what the Lord wanted us to do. And again, like we were supposed to be out there for 2 years. So when this team ended, it was all like we were all feeling it at the same time. Not what you're thinking when you sign up to go somewhere for 2 years. Like I had not been thinking about getting sick, and then I got sick. Went out to Madagascar, the team was coming to an end. Not what you're expecting. And the verse that really got us all through, we all prayed this over each other, so our whole team, is for my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. The choice to go was an intentional choice that we made, even though it was scary because we had to let our supporters know that we were changing. We had to let our local church know that we were leaving. But that was the fear of man. The fear of God is understanding that his thoughts are higher than my thoughts. His ways are higher than my ways. He had ordained every step and he knew the time I was supposed to be in Madagascar for and blessed it while we were there and also let us out. So now I'm going to start talking to you about what I currently do, which is I work at a place called Mabuno. It's an organization. Mabuno means harvest. So I'm going to start with one of my favorite verses from the Bible. I've said this verse multiple times when I presented at this church, even when I was young and just starting to go over to Kenya for my first times in Africa. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. James 1:27. If there's one thing that Christians should be marked for in this world, it is that lifestyle, because that is not cultural. We are supposed to love like nobody has loved before because we are loved like no one has loved because we are loved by God Almighty. And if there is one thing that I want to encourage you with today, it is to love like this because this is what sets us apart in our world that is so involved with self.